I'll open this meeting in the City of Kerrville Planning and Zoning Commission at 4:30. Dorothy, will you call roll, please?
Yes, sir. Bob Waller,
Here.
Garrett Harmon,
Here.
Tricia Byram, David Jones,
Here.
Rustin Zuber,
Here.
Jim Brown,
Here.
Bill Morgan. Thank you.
Okay, we have a quorum. There is visitor citizens forum. Anybody want to speak to this group should fill out a speaker request form. If you want to speak, go to the podium, state your name and address, please. The consent agenda, all items below are considered routine or ministerial in nature and be enacted with one motion. No separate discussion of items unless a commissioner or citizen so requests, in which case the items be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. Item 2A is approval from minutes of August 2nd, 2018 meeting. If you've had a chance to review those.
I move that the minutes from the August 2nd meeting be approved.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
A second.
Have a motion and a second, I'll approve, raise your right hand. That passes 4.
Well, I have to abstain, I wasn't on
There. Okay, passes 4-0, one extension. Mr. Brown. Okay, approval of the minutes from the August 16th, 2018 meeting.
I'll move we accept them as presented.
Have a motion to accept, do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. Passes 4-0. Mr. Brown, abstention, please. Wasn't present. Okay, the approval of the minutes from the September 6th, 2018, I think, instead of a 208 meeting. I have a couple of questions on that. Let me see. Dorothy Michael Seegerman shows to be on there. And then also, I think you showed Mr. Harmon as opening and closing things. That should be myself, I think.
Right.
Any other questions or amendments?
Yeah. On items 3A, 3C, and 3D, all of those need to be changed from Commissioner Harmon to Chairman Waller.
Okay. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
it. Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. Passes 5-0. Thank you.
I've ditched my red shirt.
Okay, that's right. Now you can play.
Yeah. You got off JV. didn't you?
Okay. Item number 3 is a public hearing, consideration and action. Drew?
Thank you, Chairman, Commission. This is a public hearing, consideration and action for the development site plan for lots 1 through 6 at Mansion Trace Phase 13, a subdivision in Kerrville, known as 3001, 3003, 3005, 3007, 3009, and 3011 Clubhouse Drive. This is a part of the zone case that we looked at last month for all of Phase 13, which continues to the south on Clubhouse Drive. This is the development site plan to approve the 0 lot line. So you can see on the site plan, these are actually going to be built more or less like a duplex. They do share a common lot line and common wall in the middle of each of these, which, if I'm not mistaken, is the garage portion of that. This is similar to the product they have just up the street on Clubhouse Road, which was one of the older phases here. It'd be a similar product. As you can see, they have shared access and drive coming off of Clubhouse Drive, additional guest parking And of course, they each have their own driveway and garage. Staff recommends approval of the case. I'd be pleased to answer any questions.
All right. Any questions? This requires a public hearing. I'll open the public hearing at 4:35. Anybody wishing to approach the podium and talk to the commission, please do so. Hearing none or seeing none, I close the public hearing at 4:36. Any comments from the commissioners?
Question, Drew? So we're not approving the development site plan, we're only approving one element of it, which is the 0 lot line element of that plan?
Yes. I mean, you are approving the development site plan. This is different than your commercial development site plans. For the RC zoning district, code does require for the 0 lot line developments to go through a development site plan approval, similar to a conditional use permit. So it goes to the planning commission, and they'll go on to city council for one reading as a resolution. Staff has reviewed the site plan like we would a commercial development site plan. With the plat, all the utilities are in place, parking, setbacks, all of that has been reviewed from the staff standpoint, just waiting for the approval from the planning commission for that final approval. But it is unusual for a development site plan for a residential.
To come here.
Right.
Would it be the same case for an apartment complex?
Yeah, well, an apartment complex is not residential by zoning code. So
Not
it's
residential
multifamily.
cluster? Okay.
Yeah, so, well, residential cluster for the multifamily would go through this process too.
Mm-hmm.
If it were zoned R3 or one of the other districts that allows for apartments, it would be treated as a commercial product
Oh, okay.
and go through the development site plan process through the staff and the development review committee,
Mm-hmm.
just as a staff administrative approval.
Okay.
So just the RC requires it go before the planning commission and council.
Okay.
It's kind of unusual compared to the rest of the code, but here we are.
Any other comments or questions?
Is there, there's no on-street parking at all?
There's no prohibition for on-street parking, but they do have that, this access easement shared by those 6 lots. But to my knowledge, there's no prohibition of parking on Clubhouse Drive. So they would be allowed to park on the street, but they're providing for additional parking off-street.
Again, this probably sounds like the other side of the question, or whatever else. Is there a number of parking spaces required for each unit?
Yes, there is. It's required 2 spaces per unit because they are still single family. And so that's the individual driveways for each lot.
Right.
Basically, these are 4-car driveways in front of those garages because they are shared across that lot line.
Right.
They've provided these additional spaces above and beyond. So those are
1.34 for each unit. Yeah. 6 units and 10 parking places. Okay.
Are these double garages or single?
I would say single, but
That's
you know,
what
one
the-
for each unit.
Okay.
Mm.
That's where they get the 2 spaces,
So then
one
the
in the
additional
garage,
parking would be
one
required.
outside.
In the garage is counted as parking place?
No, sorry. The driveway would count as a parking space, and then these spaces would count for the balance.
Right, yeah, I got the, okay. All right.
That's how you meet the requirements. Okay. Any other questions or comments? If not, I'll accept a motion.
I move that we approve the development site plan as presented.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign, passes 5-0. Thank you. Number 4 for consideration and final action. Drew?
This is consideration and final action for the final plat of Kerrville Sports Complex. This is a sports complex, a little over 120 acres along Holdsworth Drive. Currently known as 111 Home Run Drive and 117 Sweeper Lane. That's a little fuzzy on your screen. But See,
Yeah.
little small, again, looking at 120 acres on those screens. This is Holdsworth Drive coming through the middle of it. This is the soccer side. You see this here is Town Creek Road. This is just kind of a blowout showing those details of that surveying work. Currently, Town Creek Road is not dedicated, so we are dedicating that right of way. And then this is the baseball side, Callow Boulevard and Home Run Drive have been dedicated already by separate instrument. And so this is the balance of the property that the city owns. The reuse pond is this parcel here, or portion of the parcel here. But it is 2 lots, one for the baseball side, one for the soccer side, and Town Creek dedication. We've got a couple minor adjustments to the actual face of the plat, just relocating a few labels, adding a signature block, and correcting some of the acreage call-outs from the parent tract to the platted tracts. But we're working with the surveyor on that. Other than those minor changes, staff recommends approval.
Is there a reuse pond on both sides,
No, there is not.
just on the soccer side
It's just on the soccer side. As far as I know, they are watering both sides with that,
with that reservoir?
but just one reservoir, correct?
Has that started yet?
Yes.
Okay, the reuse piece?
The reuse piece has started. Mike, do you recall when they started using it? I know they were working on it throughout the summer, but
It's been maybe
so it's been a month or 2.
2 months.
So sometime in August is when they went online, actively watering with it. So
And you had mentioned the parent property. Is the parent property city-owned?
no,
Okay.
I believe this piece here is still owned by the Callow Foundation. There's a small tract here that's another third user or third owner. And the balance, you see that outline here,
Mm-hmm.
is the Callows as well.
Okay.
And then this piece between Callow Boulevard and soccer side is Callows also.
Okay.
But the fields themselves and the improvements belong to the city?
That is correct.
That's been transferred? Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Dan.
At one point in time, I recall that we took an action that gave the Callows that corner of Holdsworth, and that looks like a little chevron. What's that called? I can't read it on mine. Right there, yeah.
This piece here.
No, this side seems like we passed something about service station or.
Well, what they did, they moved from one side that was designated for a service station.
Put it on the other side.
They moved it to the other side of the entrance, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the adjustment to the planned district development, or planned development
I
district?
think that's
I
all.
think so, yeah.
They moved it further away from the creek.
Off the top of my head, I think that was right before I started here, so.
That's, could very well be, and so.
I knew there was an adjustment in mid-2017 to that zoning.
Oh, I think it's for a hotel as well.
Comes back the rest of the way to do the hotel, and so that chevron is gonna turn into a spine, probably a spine road of some sort or whatever.
Okay.
That's the road that's there now, isn't it? That
Right.
V shape, that's the
Yes.
current access to
It
the
goes in.
softball fields.
So
Right,
right
yeah,
at the
okay,
bend of
yeah.
that chevron is where Callow Boulevard will continue through their development as they
Right,
finish
yeah,
their
okay,
plan.
all right, that makes sense.
And Home Run Drive is that north-south piece.
Again, just for conversation, that the property that we dealt with, the barber shop,
Mm-hmm.
that's further on down
Yes.
around the
Yeah,
curve,
yeah,
right?
yeah. That's
Okay,
that's
what I
down,
thought. Okay.
So
up and
it's-
over the hill. Yeah.
It's about halfway between this property and Sidney Baker,
Yes, sir.
roughly.
Okay. Put it back more on this side, but that's all right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Any
Or-
other
Orientation.
Any other questions? Comments? If not, I'll accept the motion.
I'll make a motion, we accept the final plat as presented.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign, passes 5-0. Staff report.
Yesterday afternoon, we kicked off our code review committee with our consultant with Kimley Horn, Mr. Bowers, that you guys are familiar with from the comprehensive plan process. We met with code review committee yesterday, just kind of giving an orientation of what their project is going to be, and looking at the timeline over the next 9 to 12 months. Their first big ticket item is going to be the zoning code review and amendment, overhaul, rewrite, whatever the code review committee determines is best fit for Kerrville. Then they're going to look at subdivision ordinance and regulations, and then they've got a list of other smaller development related but smaller ordinances to review, all based off the comprehensive plan. I think if they address all of the items that they're proposing to address, we're hitting, let's say, 20 to 30 different implementation items throughout that next year process with that committee. We have set aside the second meeting for Planning Commission as a workshop to give the commission updates throughout that process. We may have some public meetings through P&Z and the Code Review Committee during those workshops. Fine-tuning that schedule as we work through the next couple of weeks between staff and the consultant. But we'll certainly keep you guys up to date and bring things to you. The goal for this project, different from the comprehensive plan, is as the Code Review Committee finishes one project, it'll go through the adoption process as they continue on their next piece, rather than keep collecting a bunch of items and approve all of them at the end. So we're looking to have the zoning code come through Planning Commission and City Council January? Does that sound right? The zoning code adoption is scheduled through January or February?
I think we're looking at kind of February, March.
February, March, okay. Subdivision regulation will kind of kick off right about that same time for review, coming further on in the year for adoption. So we'll keep you guys up to speed and be bringing a few updates to you through our workshops.
Are they working on the zoning map?
Yes, the zoning map will be included. Just kind of as a general introduction, Mr. Bowers kind of laid the groundwork for the committee that have gone through the comprehensive plan adoption, and of course you guys were involved in that process. Now we need to get the zoning code and subdivision regulations in line with that plan, because they don't match up 100% just to start with. We're all familiar with some of the complications of our zoning code, so we want to look at that as well and see what's a good fit following the comp plan. So they'll be looking the direction the comp plan gives as far as their amendments to the zoning code. Whatever those zoning code changes occur, then they'll look at the zoning map to kind of complete that land use portion.
So the city's entered into a contract,
Yes,
consulting
the city
contract with
has entered into a contract
Mark Bowers.
2 weeks ago with Kimley Horn.
Good.
So they'll be our consultant. Not as large of a team as we had last time, since we're just looking at the actual technical side of it this time with the actual code. It'll be Mark Bowers, Monica Hyde, and Ignacio Mojica. Is that right? Mejia. And they have hired a third-party legal counsel to assist in some of that review, making sure we're consistent with state and federal laws as we go through those updates.
Okay, thank you.
Would you characterize it as a revision of the existing code, or?
That is one of the components of the committee's review, as they're gonna look at, do we wanna revise what we have? Do we need to go as far as scrap or
Starting
rewrite?
over?
Starting over. But that's part of their purview, is to decide, is this something we can amend and tweak, or do we need to do a rewrite and start over? Or somewhere in between. And so they're gonna have some public engagement, similar to the comp plan. I think we've scheduled 3 large town hall meetings, and some other stakeholder meetings similar to we had with comprehensive plan, to get some feedback.
The first step for us is next, we're gonna have a workshop.
We'll have a workshop think we've got the next workshop actually be scheduled in November. And kind of, we'll give staff will give an update, commission on that, as we've gone through a couple of the code review committee meetings. The workshop that would have been scheduled for October, is the same week as the Texas Planning Conference. So our staff will be at the planning conference that week. So we'll give you the day off.
It's not a Texas Tech game or something.
Not on a Thursday, so we're good.
Okay, any other business before this commission? Mike, I have one question, of proper protocol. Do we need to get a motion to adjourn the meeting? No. Okay. Okay, we're adjourned.
Mr. Chairman, I apologize for the telephone.